The Buffalo Sabres seem to have a starting goaltender emerge for them. More on that coming up. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sabres Edge Podcast. I'm Sammy Saucy-Mitz, and this is my co-host, Top Shelf Timmy Corks. And before we get started today, just another reminder that we are teamed up with the Punt Foundation. You can see on the bottom of the screen right now, we have a QR code that you can click, and it'll take you to the website. Just if you can support the fundraiser, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is going on up until the holidays, so get a chance, go ahead and give some love over to the Pump Foundation here. We have a great family that we're supporting throughout this time, so yeah.
So, Timmy, did you have a lovely Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. I had a very quiet Thanksgiving. I was up here in Portland, Maine by myself. Didn't really get a chance to go home for the holidays. Been traveling a lot beforehand, so just decided to stay up here. So got to watch some football and, made some turkey for myself. So nothing too crazy. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was pretty good. Obviously, anytime I get to see my family, it's a good day. And if I get to see my family and eat food, even better. So I would say I had a great Thanksgiving.
Awesome.
And yeah, our donation tracker seems to say we're at 1,759 out of 5,000 for our goal. So, yeah, we're about 34% there, 35.
Yeah. So, we got two shows going on right now here at Nichols City Mafia. Let's get it to 2,000 before both of them end. How about that? That's a challenge for the fans out there.
That would be awesome. So, anyway, we had 4 games this week.
That's right.
We started off the week against the Capitals. We started with the Capitals. We lost that game 4-3. Then we move on Friday to the Penguins. We won that game 3-2. Then on Saturday, we had the Devils, lost that game emphatically. That was a 7-2 loss. And then just yesterday, we faced the Rangers, and we won that one 5-1. Timmy, how you feeling about the week?
I mean, I think I've said this multiple times. This has just been a roller coaster Sabre season. Who knows what's going on? You go to Washington, the game starts off strong, and then they blow it in the last period to lose the game. Then you go over to the Penguins game, another veteran team, but this time they pull it off at the end. They win that game. So you got a little bit of excitement going into the Devils game because the Devils were on a 6-game losing streak. And after that game, I just wanted to, I was giving up on Granato at that point because I didn't think he had the team didn't have him anymore. I mean, there's a lot of questions that was going on. We're still doing the 11-7 with the offensive defense, and then
I think in that game actually we were at a proper 12-6.
Yeah, we were actually a proper 12-6, so that's true. Yeah. We had
Granato always knew that the 11-7 was the way to go, and when he showed us the 12-6, we got shelled.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of time that Kulik and Rosine played that game, I mean, you're basically playing like a 10 or 9-6 at that point. So, or I don't even know, no, 10-6 at that point. And then you have that last night's game, and then I don't know. This season's just been insane. So, how are you feeling after this week?
Well, there's a lot to go over. Like,
yeah,
to start at the beginning of the week, we had the Capitals game, and we blow that lead, and that was terrible. And I think it was this the game where we had a bad like shift in overtime where it was just staying out too long. Cousins he took a bad shot, I think, gave it up to the other team, and we just lost because we had people who were out there too long. That was the game that Zach Benson scored his first goal of the season.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. So like I was willing to forgive them for losing that game because I was elated. That was an awesome goal.
Yeah.
But we still lost. We get a point out of it. Right?
Yeah.
So, then we go to the next game, and it was like we are down 2-0 going into the third, and they put up a stat that like the Sabres hadn't won a game after being down 2 going into the third since 2017. So we are not good at making comebacks in recent history. No. But we pull it off, and in that third period, we earned it. We looked great. That was just a great third period by us. Ukko-Pekka played well that game. That was one of his 2 starts this week. And obviously the title of this is that a goalie emerged. So like we'll get into that. Ukko-Pekka had that start, played very well. Then we move into the Devils game, and that was terrible. I stopped watching after the second period, but I think it was like 5-1 at that point.
Yeah,
it was looking terrible. We get 2 power play goals, which is fun. This week our power play has been really good. I think we've scored in most of the games on the power play except for the Rangers.
Yeah,
but we have 4 power play goals in 4 of our last games, which is definitely an upswing from where we were. I think last week we were talking about how the power play needs to sort itself out.
Yeah.
Right? And how we were like, that's a coaching issue. Like our power play has the personnel. That's a coaching issue. Well, now our power play has been clicking for at least this week. But other than the 2 power play goals, that Devils game, I'm willing to be like, that never happened. I'm putting it behind us. That was terrible. You sometimes have terrible games. Let's just pretend it never happened. Actually, it was so bad that like that may have been one of the worst games in Buffalo Sabres recorded stat history. It was the scoring chances that night were 46-9 in favor of the Devils, or 16.3% scoring chances for the Sabres, and that is a franchise worst single game performance since they began tracking that stat in 2007-2008. So
I mean, that was a pretty bad loss, and it kind of helps that the Boston Bruins are having these type of losses too right now. But still, I mean, the team just didn't show up that game, and it was absolutely disgusting. And they pulled Comrie after 1 period, and then put Levi in, and that wasn't even any help either. So
and it was just like, okay, now Levi gets to get shelled. Yeah, awesome, huge improvement. And that, like, I feel bad for him. That's Levi's been sent down now to the AHL. Like, being sent down on that note has got to sting. You played half a game, let in 4 goals. Like, that's rough. But anyway, continuing with the Jekyll and Hyde season, we move into the Rangers game, and we put up some dominant performances that game after getting completely destroyed the game before. When Skinner, Middlestat, and Tuck were on the ice at 5v5. The Sabres had an edge in shot attempts 20-4, scoring chances 8-0, and goals 2-0. They earned 98.8% of expected goal share, according to Natural Stat Trick. And to put that in perspective for people who don't really know what expected goal share is, if 100 goals were scored, well, Skinner, Tuck, and Middlestat were on the ice at 5-on-5. You'd expect the score to be 99-1 in favor of the Sabres.
That's crazy to think
about. So they were doing very well for themselves that game. And that's encouraging, right? You love to see the top guys putting in like good minutes. And I think that it's we were talking about it, I think, on an earlier show where you need to have 2 good lines at the very least, because we had the second line of Benson, Cousins, and Peterka putting up good minutes as well. And it relieves a little bit of the pressure from the top line, right? The top line then doesn't have to take every single incredibly hard assignment.
Yep.
Like the other team has to pick whether or not they want to try and shut down Peterka and how well he was playing, or if you want to shut down that top line. And they did not shut down that top line. But I think that's a very helpful aspect, and that was very helpful to our offense just producing more that game. And in general, what do you think about how the offense is tracking over the last couple of weeks? Because I feel like this week has been kind of wild for our offense specifically.
Yeah. I've been saying this for the past couple of shows. I can't put my finger down on like this team yet. They're like we've been mentioning, it's been a Jekyll and Hyde type of season where you have the Sabres that show up coming motivated, and then you have a team that's not coming in and not playing at all. So it's kind of been interesting because it's not really a top-loaded team either, I would say. We're starting, well, Skinner's been playing throughout the whole entire time. Middlestad's been having a pretty solid season. Tuck's been showing up recently with the 2 goals, and he's been producing points as well. But yeah, then you're talking about the second line. We got something going with Peterka. It's his second year, and I think he's on track to have over 30 goals this season right now. And then you have Benson showing up. Benson, there's not a lot of points on the board, but you can see the effectiveness of the way that he plays is not similar to other players on the team. And Cousins, the jury's still out on Cousins' season right now. So if they continue what they did at last night's, the best Sabres team is the Sabres team that's motivated. And what else is I don't know what's going to motivate this team, because you can't be losing 7-1 and then being motivated in the next game to be like, all right, we're going to come out and play this game.
Right.
Don Granato and Kyle Okposo and Eric Johnson are not going to give speeches between every friggin' period, because you know what? Eventually it's not going to have an effect on the team. So, this team has to realize now this is playoff hockey time. Right now, I think they're 3 points out from being in the wild card spot, I think, or so you're fighting for it right now. You're still in the mix. You haven't lost anything, so you can't give up on the season, but you need to keep on playing hard, just because you still got a long ways to go. You're only through one quarter of the season. There's 62 games left to go. You got to play motivated every game at this point. You have a goaltender this season right now, and UPL, who, as you coined, Uka Pekka Luka win. He's I'm
glad you like that one.
Yeah, I do like that one. But he, you actually have a goaltender who's going to win you games. He might steal you a game here and then, but he's not giving up the easy goals that, Comrie and also Levi were giving up. So you have your number one goaltender right now. So now that saves a space. Now you have another spot to bring up a winger and have that in the rotation. We got to make a decision on defense. We got to stop carrying. They're carrying 8 defense right now. I think the decision on Bryson has to happen soon. And those were the 2 things that we talked about last show. You had to make a decision on defense, and you had to make a decision on goalie before the end of the month.
Right.
You made a decision.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go finish your statement.
Oh, no, I said we made the decision on goalie, which is great. Now it's time to make a decision on defense, because if you're not going to play Bryson, then you can waive him and see what happens after that.
Right. Well, you mentioned the potential of bringing up another winger. Do you know who that winger is not going to be?
Yeah.
It's Pat Kane. Thank you so much, Tom, for the donation.
Good Tom.
We were going to talk about Pat Kane later, but while you're thinking about it, I am pretty happy that Pat Kane is not coming to the Buffalo Sabres. I know we talked about this ad nauseum. I'm not the biggest Pat Kane supporter.
Yeah.
He ended up getting the 1-year low-dollar contract. I mean, it's 2.5, but he settled for 1 year. So if it were 1 year again, I kind of was okay with the idea of a veteran 1-year contract, whatever. But I am glad that we don't have to talk about this anymore. until the trade deadline.
No, I think we were both kind of agreed. Like, I don't know how much help Patrick Kane would have been to this team at all. He's very similar to a lot of players that we have. If he would have had to sign a 2-year deal here, it just would have been a mess. So I'm not upset that he's not on the team, and I'm not like happy he didn't sign with the Sabres. I'm just kind of like neutral at this point. I mean, I think he's a good fit for Detroit because, to be honest with you, I don't know what DeBrincat, Larkin are the two main guys that you have in Detroit. They're a fairly old team for a team that seems to be rebuilding. So, I mean, he kind of fits in there. He grew up, I think he played his USHL in Chicago in Detroit. And it's kind of going to be interesting because now he's playing for Chicago's old enemy in Detroit. So that's very interesting.
Honestly, I think it's not the worst move if you're the Red Wings. I think if you're Yzerman, you're looking at the Sabres, the Senators, like the Lightning aren't having the greatest year. And then on the other side, like the Capitals are currently in a playoff spot, which wasn't expected. The Islanders and Penguins and Devils are kind of down. If you're Detroit right now and you see Patrick Kane's on the market, and if you're Patrick Kane and you see Detroit's playing well, it kind of works, right? There's the cap space available. You got maybe a team that's overperforming a little bit, and they're surrounded by teams that are underperforming. And you got a kind of a perfect storm to maybe make a push for the playoffs right now. And if the Detroit thinks that Patrick Kane will add depth scoring, then this is a good move for both parties, I think.
Yeah. So, good for Detroit, good for Buffalo. I think we're both happy at this point that, wasn't that big of a deal.
Supposedly we've avoided a head case like Jim Kelly's nephew. So,
Chad Kelly, he's playing up in the Toronto Argonauts. So, he's an interesting case. But then, Big Al also said Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, with the size and the way he's playing, needs to play even more. I mean, I was listening to WGR earlier too, and Paul Hamilton was on there. I mean, not everyone's favorite guy, but he did mention that, and he's kind of like, he is an insider type of guy, so he gets to see like these players in person. He noticed that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen lost some weight. He kind of got in shape, and he realized that, he's playing a lot faster and stronger. And I think the end of last season and the beginning of this season kind of motivated UPL, to realize, this isn't going to be his net in the future. He's going to have to fight for it against Levi. So I'm glad that it's working out for him. I think we both kind of had him written off at the beginning of the season. So I'm glad that he's working out for us right now. We needed the goalie, and he's filling the void right now.
Yeah. I mean, he is. He's currently the guy, right? Yeah. He is 6-3-1 on the season, which is a good record. That's a very good record. If you continue at that point pace, like you're gonna easily make the playoffs. Obviously, he's not going to play every game, and I don't think anyone expected him to play every game this year. But I'd like to see the volume increase for him, and I think that Don Granato on his show today, I think he speaks on Tuesdays, implied that yes, we are going to probably see Luukkonen playing more games, and with the move to put Levi in Rochester, that's almost all but confirmed that you're at least going to see Luukkonen every other game, if not more frequently. Yeah. But it is currently Luukkonen's net to lose, and thus far, he's earned it. In the last 5 games, he has a .942 save percentage.
What were you saying at the beginning of the season that the Sabres needed for a goaltender? What was the save percentage? Do you remember?
Was it like 905, 910?
You were saying, 911. 911, 910 was what you were saying.
911. Through the season, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has a 918. And you know what? When he's played, that's been enough. He's 6-3-1 right now. Mm-hmm. That's a winning record. That is a playoff record that we have with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and his 918. Devon Levi, before he got sent down, I think he was like an 898.
Yeah, it probably dropped after that New Jersey game too. So
the thing is, like, as much as Sabres fans probably hate to admit it, our defense in front of our goalies has been better. We don't need to win games like 5-4, 6-5 anymore.
Yeah.
But our offense has fallen off to the point where if we're not beating them 3-2, we're probably not winning.
Mm.
But with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in net, we've been getting consistent enough goaltending where like we're winning those 3-2 games. Like we are coming up on the proper side of it. And obviously in this last game, we get the 5 goals. But until the final 5 minutes, that was a 2-1 game that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen kept us in. If Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen doesn't make that crazy like behind the back stick save, that's a tied game.
Is that the save of the year so far? Do you think it will end the season as the save of the year?
I have not watched every game so far. I know Mackenzie Blackwood, playing in San Jose right now, has been getting a lot of shots. And when you get a lot of shots, you'll sometimes make crazy saves.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he has at least 1 or 2 just crazy highlight reel saves. I've seen some from Thatcher Demko already, and that team's playing out of their mind right now.
Mm.
So probably not save of the year at this point, but for the Sabres, definitely.
Yeah. It's nice to see that type of goaltending, to be totally honest with you. When was the last time we've seen a goaltender make a save like that? Right. I mean, Levi, he's very technical and by the book, but this year he's been given a lot of rebounds, but he never really had a big save last year when he went on that run of the last 7 games. So it's nice to have
push across the crease on like a 2-on-0, I think.
Okay.
Against the Rangers, actually. That was
that his first game too, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
So yeah, I mean, it's nice to have at least a serviceable goaltender right now. Like I'm not going to give him anything more than that at this moment because we got a full 60 games to go. So we're not jumping the gun anymore on guys. We jumped the gun on Levi. It was interesting because I was listening to WGR this morning too, and DiBiase was talking about maybe the Sabres can't send Levi down to the AHL because they gave him like a wink, like you would never see the AHL type of like contract.
Right.
And and then he also mentioned, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with him backing up UPL and learning up there and getting rid of Comrie. And I was just sitting there. I was driving. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what makes Joe DiBiase the Locked On Sabres guy, but in all honesty, no, I don't want what's supposed to be our future goaltender not seeing games down in the AHL. He needs to get as much experience as possible. I'm fine with Comrie is a career backup goaltender, and he's serviceable. And I think that was the second game back right after injury for Comrie too.
I believe so, yeah.
And it was
his first game after his baby was born. So
yeah,
a lot's going on for Comrie right now.
Yeah, and you know he's a serviceable backup goaltender, and it's good he's used to that sitting 4 games out in a row, and then coming into play. That's not Levi. Levi's been a starting goaltender in college for his first 2 seasons. Then he was playing. I forgot where he's playing before that. Somewhere in juniors. I don't know if it's the CHL or anywhere else. But he's gotten used to being a starting goaltender, and to take that away and have him be a backup, he's not going to be learning anything. And I'm not comfortable with forcing him to play just to get experience, because you've determined that the season's going to be a playoff season. You got to play your best goaltender. And I'm glad that they finally made that, what I think everyone was thinking, a hard decision. I'm glad that they finally made that decision, because you can't be, like I was saying, you can't carry 3 goaltenders. And this isn't bad for Levi. It's not, I wouldn't even think this is demotion. I would actually think it's a promotion, because he has nobody that's going to be challenging him down in Rochester to start over him. So he's going to get a lot of experience down there.
Yeah, I think that, just like you said, the experience will be so valuable for him. And again, like getting that starter workload down there is important for someone that we project as our starter, right? This is a guy in the future who we all think is going to be our starting goaltender. He's not going to get a starter workload here in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
By the way, Blake says hi.
What's going on, Blakers? Thanks for joining in, man. So yeah, I guess there was a couple more things to go over just those past couple of games. So yeah, you mentioned Benson's goal. Do you think that was one that definitely sealed the deal for him to be an NHL on the NHL roster, right?
I'm not sure. Me personally, I was of the opinion that he was good enough anyway.
Yeah.
I think he's shown on and off the puck that he's an NHL player. In this last game, it was very apparent, like his ability to kind of like slink into areas and make it really hard for defenders to clear the zone is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen like an 18-year-old, much less literally anyone else in the league, who has the ability to like stall opposing breakouts the way that he does. He finds his way into these like gritty areas, and which is, again, he's like a 5'10" kid. He has no weight on him, and he still manages to find himself in these battles. But he's so smart about how he maneuvers his body, and he really just jams things up and gives his teammates time to reposition and get the best opportunity to keep the puck in the opposing zone. And he does that consistently. You see that night in, night out. Yeah. And like that work ethic is just there. And it's not about how he's scoring. That ability to keep it in the zone tires out defenders and helps your team generate offensive chances, even if he's not the one getting points on it. He is consistently creating offense and sustaining offense for a team that has kind of been a off the rush team. So like getting that in zone time is really helpful for them. And we see he was paired with Cousins and Peterka during that last game, and that line looked great. They generated a lot of offense. I think they gave up a fair amount of offense the other way too, but I think they definitely outplayed their opponents when they were on the ice, and it was just a good look for him. And this is Benson's 4th game in a row, and he does not look like he's super tired out yet. Yeah. So like coming back from injury, I guess he's looking a little bit better in the conditioning department, because again, we were about 4 games in last time when we were like, okay, the fatigue is showing. The Benson that we got on opening night is not the same Benson that we have right now. But he came back from injury, and he has just looked good since then. He's earned his spot on the roster, and I'm glad that we see him play the 10th game, because that means they intend to keep him around for the season, probably.
Yeah. I don't think it was the goal that solidified it. I think for a lot of fans it did. I think just the type of goal it was, where he just put it between the legs, that just shows that he has confidence. He's not afraid to really do anything. Even if and that's just for the casual hockey fan that's not really watching anything that he's doing off puck. But the one thing that really stood out for me too is just there's 2 players that stood out for me in the New Jersey game that showed effort throughout the game. It was Ryan Johnson and it was Zach Benson. They didn't slow down. They didn't give up on play. Ryan Johnson, actually, he gave up the puck and then chased down on the back check to get back into play and stopped from another goal from happening. But at that point, the game was 5-1, and it really didn't matter if they scored again. But he still was showing effort. And just to have those 2 young guys in there, skating and playing hard all the way to the end, I mean, that has to resonate with the guys that have been on the team for the past couple of years now, because you have guys who really aren't invested in the team years wise that are still fighting to at the end of a game that's kind of a blowout at this point. Right. So seeing that from Benson too, not seeing him give up and still having that energy, that was huge for me to show this kid belongs up here. He does not need to be in the in the WHL. He's really proven himself. And it doesn't seem like many things get to him either. He's gotten a few BS penalties, like that one on Trouba last night. But he doesn't get flustered by that. He just kind of takes it in stride. And he's having fun out there too. So, it's kind of good to see that energy coming from this team right now.
Yep. And I really like the point about Ryan Johnson as well. Like that is a player who has really impressed me. And it's the same, like it's that work ethic that you see, or that you pointed out with Benson and Johnson. Both those guys are still on the team. Mm-hmm. We've seen a few players come up and then go down. You see Savoy, you see the Byro and Rusick. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. So you see those guys that came up, They had their shot, and they end up back in the AHL or WHL, respectively. We still have Kulik and Rosine on the team. I don't think they've officially been sent back down.
Nope.
But, like, the consistent effort and just the mentality that you're going to work hard every game, every shift, in every corner, even when you're not in an opportunity to be scoring, you are working hard and putting in the effort. That's what keeps guys on teams. That's why we have Ryan Johnson still here. That's why we have Zach Benson still here. And it shows. They've earned it. These are guys who have really earned it. They have shown up and they've played well enough where you cannot send them back now because they are in your top 12 forwards and top 12 defensemen, respectively.
So, yeah. No, they definitely earned their keeps too. And with Ryan Johnson, I don't understand, and we talked about this a little bit, I just don't understand why we're still keeping 8 defensemen and why we're having some guys being taken off the ice while other guys are staying on the ice. And I'm pointing at, some guys that have been having some pretty bad games between Clifton and even Samuelsson. I mean, Samuelsson goes out in the New Jersey game, at the beginning of the second period.
Yeah.
And then he's back the next day because of injury. What's going on with this guy? I mean,
apparently in Samuelsson's case, he took a puck to the face, and that's what the injury was, and that's why he was able to play during the next game. But yeah, he's not looked great. I thought actually during this last game he was pretty solid.
I didn't really pay attention to him on the last game, to be honest. So I mean,
I think when you don't really notice Samuelsson is when he's probably at his best. He'll make a couple of hits, but it's his positional game. He gets into lanes. He kind of has a big body, big stick, and that's why you don't really notice him because it's not something crazy that he's doing. He plays the body, but he doesn't like huge checks, and he can make a solid breakout pass, but he's not Rasmus Dahlin. So I think when you're not noticing Samuelsson is probably when he's at his best, similar to Yoki Haru, although last game I thought he stood out in a good way. I thought Yoki Haru looked really good, but that only makes the question harder of you're going to keep Yoki Haru out for Clifton? You're going to keep him out for Eric Johnson. You're going to keep him out. Even Samuelsson as of recently. Again, I'm higher on Samuelsson than Clifton or Johnson.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
You're going to keep out Yoki Haru, who's played I think this year, Yoki Haru's definitely been one of our top 6 defensemen.
Yeah, he definitely has been. And if you're comparing it from years in the past where people were complaining, why is this guy still on the team? He's earned his spot on this team right now. And I don't know why he was taken out of the lineup because I can't recall him having a bad game. The only 2 people I've recalled having, Clifton clearly has been having bad games. Owen Powers kind of been, wishy-washy, but you're not taking him out. You're going to have him play through this.
He was better this game, I think.
During
that Rangers game, he looked great defensively and offensively, and that's exactly what you want to see. Him maturing his game on both ends of the ice.
Yeah.
No complaints during that.
And I'm just referencing from the time when Yoki Haru was taken out. From this last game. But Clifton's been playing bad. Eric Johnson, you can see some things are he plays solid, but he's also had some incidents where you're going what are you doing? And I think was it last night's game where he gave up the puck and was benched for basically the end of, I think, for the second half of the third period. I think
I did not notice him getting benched, but.
Yeah, he didn't play.
If you have 7 defensemen, you can bench one.
Yeah, well, yeah. Which, like I said, that's kind of a problem. But yeah, I mean, I never understood the decision on Yoki Haru though. He's been having a good season. He should be rewarded for it. Last season, I understood his benching in the year before that. Right. This year, he's proven himself. You don't need to motivate him. You needed to motivate Krebs, and he came back and he's playing harder. But you need to get. Clifton needs to be benched, man. He's been terrible, and I think there was a stat out there where when it's him and Eric Johnson out with the 4th line, they play pretty well. Right. But besides that, on 5-on-5, they're absolutely dog shit. So you got to switch that up. Someone's got to ride the pine for a little bit.
I was looking at a post on the NHL subreddit, and They have like game scores for every week, and Clifton was one of the 6 worst defensemen of this week. And
Not
I'm like,
surprised.
I mean, given the New Jersey game, that makes sense. I'm sure that we have a bunch of people who are kind of on the lower end of that scale right now. But the fact that it was Clifton of our guys who was in the top 6, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I see that. And I have heard that Yoki Haru may have been ill, but there's been no official report on whether or not that was the case. So that's just kind of hearsay until like you hear anything otherwise. But if he wasn't and you're sitting Yoki Haru over Clifton, like that will not make sense to me. It just will continue to baffle me. Because like you were talking about how Powers kind of had an up and down season. Powers played his best hockey next to Yoki Haru this year.
Yeah.
And like
that's for sure.
And Yoki Haru played last game. Power looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously it's not fully like you can't say like this guy's making the other one, but he's helpful to have around, and especially for Owen Power. He's definitely, having played like all of last year with Yoki Haru helps kind of with the chemistry and the stability of that. But man, I'm still baffled about just Connor Clifton over Yoki Haru. Really, really hurts.
Yeah, I mean, Clifton hasn't shown that he's earned to be on the ice. And I think I've actually seen him play on the power play too, which is kind of mind-blowing as well. But to go back to
that,
I don't even remember what night it was. I mean, I think it was just a happenstance that it came in here. But I don't think yeah, I mean, it still pissed me off on the power play, but he definitely was out there. I don't think he was meant to be out there, but he was out there, and I was pissed off either way. But to go back to the injuries, this year's kind of been interesting just because, with Krebs, when he first sat out, you really haven't heard anything of why he sat out. It was a personal matters thing, and I don't think they've came out with anything on Greenway, but I'm pretty sure that was also labeled as like a personal matters thing too. So
yeah.
I mean, the injury thing going on, or if it's an illness thing, or if it is personal things too. It's just
I think in Krebs's case, they actually told us that it was something to do with a relative dying or a relative being ill. Like I think that he was out in
Alberta
and then he met them up in Winnipeg after.
Okay.
But met up with them in Winnipeg after. But yeah, I do believe that they gave a little bit of what was going on in his case. For Greenway, they have not, as far as I'm concerned, told us anything yet.
Yeah, which at the end of the day, it's really none of our business, but it's kind of just been weird of reasons why some guys are saying like Yoki Haru, there wasn't really too much. So you're left to speculate too. But yeah, just kind of like with Greenway out, we had 2 guys come up as well, Rosine and Kulik. I mean, they didn't play a lot of time, but did you take anything away from their performances at all?
Man, it's been underwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they've been very hyped up by us, by their stats in the AHL. I don't know if it's first game jitters, right? That happens. But Rosine's now played 2 games. The second game, he got 4 minutes of ice time. It was something ludicrously low. During the Rangers game, by the way, we only played 9 forwards for the majority of that game. Tyson Yost and Isak Racine barely played any minutes. So that was that. We were playing basically a 9-7. But back to the point, we had the Kulik and Rosine showing up at the worst possible time, because I don't think it was their fault that the Devils murdered us in cold blood. But on the second goal, right, it looked really bad on Rosine. He was the first guy coming back to the front of the net, and that was the guy in front who took it and scored. It was almost 100% Tyson Yost's fault, as he fell his way into the corner. Well, there was already a defenseman on the guy in the corner vacating the front of the net, but it looked bad for Isak Rosine. Now, I'm not saying Isak Rosine did anything to stand out looking good, but it was a bad game, and there were certain circumstances that made it so it was going to be hard for any of these players to stand out in a positive way. I mean, you had Yuri Kulik playing on the 4th line.
Yeah. And
What?
he did, and he wasn't really playing with fire either when I saw him out there. It looked
No.
like he was kind of just coasting, and he wasn't really fighting for pucks or anything. So, I mean, like you said, that's a bad game to have your first game. But if you have guys like Benson and Johnson who are out there still fighting, I mean, if you're the call up guy, you should be still fighting out there too.
Yeah, that's probably the most disheartening thing is that you see like after the second period when everyone else stopped fighting, like their spark was gone too. And I'm a little bit sad because it's like, you should be the guy who's going out there and playing with literally nothing to lose. Go
Yeah.
out there, skill it up a little bit, do like something interesting, make an impression. And I don't think that they did.
No.
And I'm not saying that they're bad prospects, and I'm not saying they won't be able to figure it out, but that was a very underwhelming debut.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a telltale that they still have to have some, growing to do in the AHLs.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of people just looking at like the message boards and everything were excited and had a lot of expectations for these guys to be high flying, bringing a lot of offense, and possibly could turn our season around type of thing. And I think that was a lot of expectations for two younger guys to come in there who've kind of the book's out on Kulik right now. He plays a lot of offense, not a lot of defense. He still needs to work on his defense.
Yeah.
And Rosine's kind of rounded out his game, but he's not the top end prospect or a top end scorer that like Kulik could be an NHL type of thing. So,
right.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they go back down, it's not a negative. They still have a lot of growing to do. And, I'm not going to grade their performances at all if they play another game too. I mean,
right.
It's not worthwhile. I'm not going to shit on them, and I'm not going to pump them up either. It's nice to get rewarded for playing hard, and now you're learning what it's like to play in the NHL too.
Now they're going to have to play harder because it is a harder league.
Exactly. That's for sure.
Well, anyway, addressing the chat real quick, we got Blake saying that hasn't watched a game all year and wishes he could chime in on thoughts on the team, LOL. That's why we're here. If you haven't watched a game all year, we tell you how it's going. We get mad on your behalf and we get excited on your behalf so that you can be like, yeah, that's our team.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone on a rant last week. This week I have no rant, but
yeah, I mean, it's like obviously that New Jersey game is disappointing, but you get 5 of the 8 points on kind of a busy week.
Yeah.
I don't have it in me to rant about like poor performance. Put the New Jersey game past you. Like that was.
Yeah. What do you think of Olofsson right now? 6 points in 5 games.
Olofsson has, I think it's he has 6 assists in his last 4 games even.
Yeah.
Might be that. Because I think that was from this week or like since the Capitals game, I think he has 6 assists.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but he's looked very good. I'm really, really happy to say that he's looked very good. As one of the guys that we have really just used as our punching bag this year, we have like Clifton, Olofsson, Kyle Okposo. Having Olofsson show up and have a good week, not a good game, not a good shift, a full week. He has played all 4 of those games and has looked good off the puck.
Yep.
And is getting rewarded for it in the points column. He has 6 points, I think, this week. It might be 5 games instead, but he's got 6 points in a less than 6 number of games. And he's looked good while doing it. He's winning battles. I saw him go into the corner against the Rangers. God, I can't believe I lost that game. So I'm going to the corner against the Rangers, and I was like, oh, my God, that's impressive. The forecheck eventually led to the first goal of the game, where it goes back to the corner where Power is, and he kind of throws it back into the zone. It bounces off of Olofsson, and Peterka scoops it and roofs it home. That was a beautiful shot, by the way.
Yeah.
But that started with Victor Olofsson forechecking.
Mm-hmm.
That play, we don't get that result. He doesn't get that assist if he doesn't go for that forecheck beforehand. And I think that's way more important than any like fancy pass that you get occasionally. He took the puck in the corner, got possession, and or like forced them to turn possession over so that Power could have possession. And eventually it came back around and Olofsson gets a point for it, but it's the forecheck that got him there. And he's looked good. Like that's been consistent through these 4 games.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should start having a punching bag of the week right now. And we can just beat up on one player, and then hopefully they turn out the next week to play pretty well. I mean, it's either that or it's this contract here. I mean, I'm still down to do a punching bag of the week right now.
In the last 4 games as well, Kyle Okposo has 3, or he's 3 in the last 3 games. But so during this week, Kyle Okposo has 3 goals.
Yeah.
So our punching bags are doing pretty well for themselves. Clifton, if you're hearing this, you're next, buddy. You're up. All the other punching bags are gone. Who else am I supposed to make fun of? It's just you, Clifton. That means that there's a lot of pressure on you this week, and if you don't show up, you're gonna really feel it.
Yeah, you're gonna be more than a punching bag at that point.
Yeah. Well, I think we've talked a fair amount about our team this week, so let's move a little bit outside to talk about what's going on around the league right now. Bills fan CA saying, sorry, joining a little bit late. How much money did Patrick Kane get? Patrick Kane, I believe it was, I have it up somewhere, $2.75 million for 1 year. So it's not terrible. Yeah. It's maybe a little more expensive than I would want. The 1 year is probably nice for whoever picked him up because he wanted it came out. He did in fact want that multi-year deal. And that would not have been worth it for literally anyone, in my opinion.
No.
But
yeah, I mean, for him to get that amount of money in just a 1 year, not even a full season, is still pretty good. Who knows if his point production is going to live up to that contract? So, I mean, it's a risk for any team that was going to sign him. And then if he has a year, then another team's going to sign him for bigger money next year, most likely. So, whatever. You got to take the chance on yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely a bet on yourself kind of contract, but I'm not sure that bet's gonna pay off too much. Blake says Devon Levi moved down to Rochester. Yes, he has been. We talked about that earlier. We're pretty happy with that decision.
Yeah, good for his development.
Again, the Sabres definitely watch the show, and no one wants to be a punching bag segment. Love it. LOL. Yeah, they definitely watch. We talked about it. I think it was last week we were saying like Don Granato watches the show or something because we were talking about it in the chat in our Discord server where it was they came out really hot one game and we're like, yep, the Sabres definitely are watching.
Yeah.
Because it was the Capitals game actually. Yeah, they came out very hot. They came out looking good. So like
I mean, if they're willing to watch the show, that's fine. And then, Mike, if we're gonna do a punching bag segment, we gotta get like the little like boxing bell going, like ding ding, and then I'm gonna take full swings at guys. So.
Ding ding! All right, Clifton, step into the ring.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 5'10". I'm 6'2". I can take him.
Good luck. Check out his stats. Devon Levi has an 87 save percentage. Yeah, I thought it was like 89. But 87, even better. Great job, Devin. I hope it goes well for you in the A. But actually, though, like yes, I think it'll be better for his development this way.
No, there's no ill will. I mean, he was really pumped up before this season to be the savior of this team, which isn't even fair for a guy who's, I think he's only 20 years old, might even be 19. But that's crazy. We talked about it at length. Goalies take a while to develop, and for him to go down to the AHL, that's going to be the best bet for him because he's going to be the starting goaltender there, and he's going to see a lot of games. And to be honest with you, Seth Appert's been doing a great job developing guys in the AHL as well. So, I mean, let him get his hands on him. Maybe Granato has too much going on right now for a playoff push. Let Appert develop him because that's the point of the AHL.
Yeah. And Bills fan says, I can make that happen. Ding, ding.
Awesome. Let's go.
Moving on to some of the other stuff that's going on around the league. We had a game last night at the same time as the Sabres game between the Panthers and the Senators. And that game featured 167 penalty minutes. And that beat the last year record of 166 from a Senators and Panthers game. So these guys seem to love playing each other. The Canucks, the Tchucks.
Yeah. Well, no, they're American. Never mind.
Brady and Matthew Canuck seem to really inspire their teams to go at each other, because that's crazy. 167 penalty minutes. 13 players got ejected by the end. If you see pictures of the benches, they're completely barren. You see like the backup goalie sitting in the middle of the bench, like sprawled out because he can.
Yeah.
Like, it's wildly entertaining that happened. And if you looking for a fun game, Senators and Panthers play each other 3 more times this year. So definitely one to watch if you're looking for some scrappy gameplay.
Yeah, if you want to see some bad blood between some teams, I mean, check out one of their games. I don't know. They must be just taking on the energy. Maybe the Chucks are like paying off their teammates to be like, hey, we got to get into some fights here. I can't fight my brother. So someone's going to have to do it for me. And then they just all gang up on each other, because there was a point where literally the ref was like, all 10 guys, 10 game misconducts, 10-minute game misconducts, cleared the benches. And then literally right afterwards, Paul Maurice is just looking down his bench and being like, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I have enough to play the rest of the 7 minutes left in the third period.
It was wildly entertaining. You know what else is pretty entertaining? On the other side of the conferences, we have San Jose won their game last night against the Capitals, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Putting them on a 2-game win streak, but more importantly, it means they've caught a team. They have as many points as the Chicago Blackhawks, and I'm not entirely sure about this, but I heard that they have as many regulation wins as the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Really? I didn't hear that one.
Toronto has been winning a lot of games in overtime this year, giving up a bunch of extra points out there in the league, but they're not even close in the standings to Toronto. But that's a pretty amusing fact, I guess.
And former Buffalo Sabre and Buffalo native Justin Bailey had 2 goals against the Capitals, right? So I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute since we last seen Justin Bailey playing in the NHL. So I mean, good to see that name pop up. And then if you can make your wave on a terrible team like the Sharks, good for you, man.
You want to guess who the Sharks caught in the standings?
In the Western Conference or just overall NHL?
Overall, they've only caught one team. The team has 3 games in hand, but they still caught a team.
It's not the Oilers.
It's not the Oilers. Although that would be really funny. The Oilers won their last 2 games, so that helps them out a bit.
It's not the Coyotes.
It's not the Coyotes. The Coyotes are 500, so...
It's not the Atlanta Thrashers. That's not a team anymore.
And the Atlanta Thrashers are still better.
Well, I don't know. What is this other team?
It's Chicago, which brings us into our next little musing from around the league. The Chicago Blackhawks have
this one.
The Chicago Blackhawks have placed Corey Perry on unconditional waivers with plans to initiate his contract effective immediately, putting out a statement saying, after an internal investigation, the Chicago Blackhawks have determined that Corey Perry has engaged in conduct that is unacceptable and is in violation of both the terms of his standard players contract and the Blackhawks' internal policies intended to promote professional and safe work environments. As such, Corey Perry has been placed on unconditional waivers in the event that Mr. Perry clear waivers. We intend to terminate his contract effective immediately.
Thank you, Blake.
Yeah, Blake knows the Blake
said it.
You can't watch a single Sabres game, but you've heard that he's been messing around with Connor Bedard's mom.
Allegedly.
That's all alleged, and apparently there's a lot of a lot of the insiders are saying that that's actually not the case, but Yeah, Chicago can't seem to get away from controversy recently with their whole like Kyle Beach incident with the sexual assault, and now something going on with Corey Perry that they've been pretty hush hush about.
I mean,
And they're officially terminating his contract, so that's something that obviously, if it's a breach of contract, something serious has happened, and they're saying it's a team matter. They are saying it has nothing to do with anybody's family because they heard
disgusting.
that rumor seep out. But Chicago, you cannot escape controversy. It would seem.
Yeah,
they're all over the news for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, they have a short leash, so they don't. I mean, a lot of people are pissed off that they got Bedard because they had the first round pick because of the whole Kyle Beach situation and not getting punished for that. So they're on a short leash. So I feel like maybe it's not as well. I'm sure it's pretty bad, but I mean, your imagination can go pretty far, as we can tell with some of the rumors out there, right. And reading Reddit and other boards. But I mean, it could not be as bad as people are making out to be. Maybe it's just like, hey, we're not taking a chance on this one, and we're just gonna come up. But it's weird because now they brought in Corey Perry to help, Bedard grow. He's gone. Taylor Hall is gone. He's injured. And then now you're left with Nick Foligno. He's the last guy that's kind of going to be the mentor for Bedard.
Actually, while we were talking, while the show has been going on, there have been reports that Anthony Beauvillier has been traded to the Chicago Blackhawks from the Canucks for a 5th-round pick. So it seems like they found their replacement for Corey Perry for the foreseeable future, at least.
I don't know who he is. Am I supposed to know who this guy is?
No, but it's not like it's important news, but no. It's kind of amusing that that trade has been announced now while we were doing this, and because we were going to talk about the Corey Perry situation. They're filling in their gaps.
Yeah, I've never heard of this guy's name before, so I don't know if he's going to be a mentor or what type of player he's going to be.
I think he was on the New York Islanders for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, geez.
He may have gone over in that
plays that defensive type of game that no one likes watching. That's great.
Who was the trade that they Bo Horvat?
Yeah,
I think he was a casualty of the Bo Horvat trade. But yeah, okay. He played 6 years with the Canucks or 6 years with the Islanders, and he's in his 2nd year with the Canucks. So
okay. I mean, hey, they got some free spots on that roster right now. And I don't think they have much of a cupboard in their AHL, so they're going to have to find some guys to fill in some spots on that team, that's for sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, that gives – I mean, that's going to bring some attention to the NHL right now. Hey, You got the NFL brings drama, the NBA brings drama. Now look at the NHL. It's bringing some drama.
They're doing it too.
And you can kind of laugh at it. Yeah.
So before we move into previewing the next week, you want to go over who you thought your 3 stars of this week were?
Yeah. So I've already mentioned the one, Ryan Johnson.
Okay.
He's been playing a pretty solid, consistent game. And I think a lot stood out to me is that, one, he's on the final roster. Let's not bring in 7D on a game. I mean, he made the spot. You don't need it. He can play minutes too. But yeah, he's been playing solid ever since he came up. We don't need to look back. He's not going back to the AHL. My 2nd star is going to go out to UPL. He won that starting job. He's been the best goaltender that we had in probably 3 years. Fingers crossed, he keeps it going. I mean, yeah, you won the job, but doesn't mean you can't lose it. So keep it going, man. Yeah. And my 3rd star, what do you think about? I think I'm going to go with Peterka. I mean, he's kind of quietly just going. He's having a solid season. He's putting points and he's stringing along points, and maybe not back-to-back games, but maybe every other game. And he's kind of taken that role that people are expecting Jack Quinn to pull up this year. Right. So Having him be a 30-goal scorer, and then the expectation is for Quinn to be a 30-goal scorer too. I mean, this is a bright future that we have with this team so far when it comes to offense. So, those are going to be my 3 stars for the week. How about you?
I'm going to have to agree with you on one of the stars. I'm going to give a star to Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen because 2 games this week, 2 wins, outstanding save percentage. And you know what? In both of those games, if we weren't playing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I'm not sure we win those. That was the Pittsburgh game, which we won 3-2, and the Rangers game last night. Even though it was a 5-1 win, again, it was 2-1 until 5 minutes remaining.
Yep.
So I'm going to give Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen a nod. My second star, I'm going to give to Zach Benson.
Yep.
Hey, I'm not sure. Like, if I'm giving it purely by like who played the best this week, I would be giving a star to Casey Middlestat. But you guys are tired of hearing his name every week because he's just so darn good. And
Casey
also,
Middlestat.
Circumstantially, Benson got to play in his 10th game this week.
Yeah.
Proved that he made the team. So, like, good for him. He is a part of this Sabres team. There's not a question anymore. You've made it to the 10th game. You've burnt a year of your contract. We're going to use that year of your contract.
That's for sure.
And then for my first star, because I'm not sure I will ever be able to say this again, Victor Olofsson, 6 points in 4 games, had a great week, unironically. Like, I think he actually belongs in the 3 stars. And on top of that, I may never be able to call out his name again for this segment.
Sam, you can wake up from your dream now. It's over with. Or your nightmare, whatever one.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this is necessarily a dream. But
no, I agree with all your guys too. I mean, they're all having solid weeks. So even though it's been an up and down week, there are still some bright spots on this team.
For sure. All right. So looking forward between now and next Wednesday, because I'm going to be at the Red Wings versus Sabres game on December 5th.
Big game.
So we will be live on Wednesday, December 6th next. But we've got 4 games in that time span. We've got away at the Blues on Thursday. Then we go to Carolina on Saturday. Then we're back home on Sunday for in the back-to-back against the Predators. And then we have that Tuesday game against the Red Wings. What would you like to see out of our Sabres bunch during this upcoming week?
I want them going on a streak. There are at least 3 winnable games going into this. The Blues are having a down season. You could definitely win against them. Carolina, I think they lost to them at the last minute too. So
yeah,
you can compete with. You can compete with that team. And UPL did play in that game. I think, if I recall, or was it Levi?
It was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah,
he posted an 889. So not his best game.
But what was the score of that game overall?
It was 3-2.
So, yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was the last minute. They had control of that game until the end, so you can win against them. Nashville is not having a good season either. I was actually checking out Nashville, and they still have James Neal. I didn't even realize he still played hockey. I thought he was retired. But Nashville, you can definitely beat them. And then you're almost even with Detroit right now. Yeah, maybe you get to face Pat Kane. Maybe that might be his first game coming back, but you can win all these games. It's time to put a streak together. I'm sick of the roller coasters. I'm sick of the up and downs. Like we said, and I think I said this last week, you need to bring intensity to every single game at this point. There's no reason why you should be coming out flat. You haven't earned that ability to come out flat in a game. The Rangers have. The Bruins have. Sabres haven't. Sabres need to prove that they can win back-to-back-to-back games. You have the starting goaltender right now. There's no more questions about that. UPL's going to stand on top of his head for some of these games. He's playing a lot better than expected. Get some wins. Get the offense going. Let's go. Let's get onto a streak right now. We're going streaking.
I'm going to have to second that for what I want to see this week. Every one of the teams that we're facing this week is beatable.
Yeah.
And obviously, like going into the last week, you look at the Rangers and you'd be like, that's one of the ones you mark on the calendar, and you're looking past that, like it's going to be a tough game. We win that, but like none of these teams that we're facing this week are like super strong. I don't even think like the Hurricanes, they've been good, but not great. They're not dominating the way that like maybe they would have last year.
Yeah.
And other than that, like the Red Wings are kind of hot. The Blues are meh. Like it's not the craziest schedule right now. It's not even though 4 games in a week is still a lot. I want to see us win 3 of those.
Yeah.
I want to see us off a game where we played great. I want to see us continue that intensity. I want to see us continue with that level of compete and effort through all of those games. And if we do that, we should win at least 3 of them.
Yeah.
Because we were a better team last night than the best team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And it was earned. It wasn't like it didn't feel fluky. We played a tight game with them. We played it defensively. We played good offense, even though like the goals didn't come until the end. I thought Shesterkin up until the final 5 minutes played a great game.
He made some pretty big saves in the first period.
He made some huge saves that really kept them in it.
Yeah.
So for me, this week, I want to see us continue to play with that intensity. And if we do, I'd like to see us win 3 of those 4 games and really kind of build some momentum. Get us above 500 for once. That would be a nice thing to see.
Let's get some padding. Let's pad some stats. Let's pad some wins on there because it's a long season, but we got to start. We got to streak. We got to go streaking now, boys. Got to go streaking.
Yeah. And before we head out, congratulations on being able to pronounce Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and other players.
It's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Remember,
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Well, we'll see how this week goes now that he's officially the starter.
Positive vibes only.
Positive vibes only. Well, thank you so much for attending this week's stream. We will see you next week on Wednesday. Have a good one.
Like and subscribe.